for older Australians, it can be one of those decisions, difficult decisions, that you can sometimes find yourself faced with suddenly, perhaps after a fall or an illness, whether to move or modify. While there are the options of moving to a retirement village or aged care facility, staying in your own home has many advantages. So what do you need to know about making that decision to modify your home? Well, we're joined by Michael Bleasdale, the CEO of Home Modifications Australia, to tell us more. Michael, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
It can be one of those things, and obviously we all know that the statistics about the ageing population, I think by 2050 the number of people aged between 65 and 84, it's going to double. When it comes to staying in your own home, what are the advantages?
Well, I think you're right to point out, I mean, everybody knows that we have an ageing population like Australia, like many other countries across the world. And the reason we have that is because we've been the beneficiaries of good health systems, good nutrition, healthy lifestyle, all of those really positive things. So it's important to recognise that having an ageing population is a very positive thing. So we need to increasingly, as a population, as individuals, we need to plan for the future. We need to plan for a significant period of time of retirement. And logically speaking, we will want to be living and enjoying our own homes during that period of time. So it may have been in the past where people were thinking, well, I'm getting old now, I need to move into a specific facility. Residential aged care is still very good and very necessary, but increasingly people are entering residential aged care at a much later age. So we need to be looking therefore at our own homes being places where we can live full and enjoyable lives, and also receive the services we might need when inevitably, as we get older, we slow down a bit or we might have some health issues.
You put the wine fridge higher up.
That's right.
Nobody wants to think about becoming in some way disabled, but it's inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable, but that's why we put it off. We leave it to the last minute many times, but that's when you can end up with more issues than you want to have. The most basic safety issues involved would have to be modifying your bathrooms and your kitchens and your floor surfaces. How is that what you would suspect would be the first things to change if you're feeling a bit wobbly on your pins?
The way the system works at the moment is that home modifications, by and large, come in when someone's had an event, a fall, as you mentioned earlier on, and they're part of a suite of services that are available to older people to help them remain independent at home. And they always have been. They've been there for 30-odd years through their home and community care program. So usually when a home modification service comes in, it's trying to meet a person's specific needs. So they've got a particular health or mobility requirement, and there is a particular problem that's been identified in the house. So an occupational therapist will come in, they will assess the person thoroughly, and then they will have a negotiation. So as you say, Prue, the issues, the primary issues are issues around access into the home, bathrooms, kitchens and those sorts of things.
We're just looking at some pictures now of work that has been done to modify a property. This is a completed bathroom?
This is a completed bathroom. Actually, this is for a younger person, and of course home modifications are done for younger people with disability as well. And the interesting thing I think about this is that it was done for quite a young child who's going to grow and develop. So it's got what you don't see there is probably the grab rails and those sorts of things. Those haven't been installed, and that's a family bathroom that will be used by other members of the family who continue to assist a young child whilst he's using those facilities.
And these are just some before and after shots of another bathroom that's
that one
been
there, yeah,
modified.
that's for a gentleman who uses a wheelchair. That was his before picture for the bathroom. He wanted it to be usable. That wasn't usable for him to access when he was in his wheelchair. That's what they came up with. You can see there's a long tap for him to use, and he can also wheel right up to the basin there. And as you can see, it's a nice finish. It doesn't have many of those features that perhaps people expect they're going to get.
Of course, there is a cost involved in any of these things,
yes.
But is it not subsidised in some ways by HAC programs or DVA card members and such things?
Well, that's correct, yes. So There will continue to be subsidisation by the government for older people who are eligible for aged care funding. At the moment, it's the Commonwealth Home Support Programme, and there is a Commonwealth subsidy of up to about $10,000 available for people.
Which I think is something people don't often realise.
That there is help to modify your home.
There is. And of course, this is when you're eligible, so you're obviously going to be eligible for other types of services as well. So again, this is the reactive story that we're telling you. You've had whatever it is you have, you need some support, and the home modifications is part of that.
Exactly, because and they can access that by going to Centrelink or something like that. If you want to judge if you're eligible, either an aged care assessment team is a bit extreme, but you could go to Centrelink and have sort of a preliminary chat.
There is now a new system, the My Aged Care system, and I've provided you with details of how people who are watching can get access to that. There's a website where you can get more information and information about where home modification and other service providers are available.
myagedcare.com.
I believe myagedcare.gov.au.
.gov.
Yes.
Perfect. Great.
And they will assess you over the phone, and they will send some assessors out to meet with you.
Fantastic.
Kitchen obviously is another area where you want to be able to continue living independently, but perhaps you have some mobility issues. So what are sorts of things that can be done there?
Well, look, I think part of the story is home modifications, as I said, are reactive and part of a service system. I think increasingly we need to get the message out there to people as they're nearing retirement that there are things you can do in your home to make it better for you as you move into retirement and to prepare for that time where, in fact, you might lose some mobility. So that's pictures we're looking at now. There was a before picture of a kitchen, which, there's nothing particularly wrong with it, but so that's that one there. Nothing particularly wrong with it,
no,
but just to make
terrific.
it, probably bigger than my kitchen. To make it better for the older person, they've converted it into that. And there's sort of subtle changes in there. There's obviously a lowered eating area and preparation area. The benches are more spacious, easier to access. There's also features you can't see there. There's lower level power outlets. There's remote controls on some of the appliances there, and you can just see in the background there's a twin drawer dishwasher. Again, these are things which are easier for people to utilise. So there's quite a lot of subtlety around the features you can build into the house, and also some of the assistive technology you can apply to the house to make it easier in the future, now and into the future.
Obviously, access is something too, and I think we've got some shots of ramps and the like. I mean, just while we're sort of looking at that, I mean, are there, do you need to have certain types of homes that are going to be suitable for modification? Are there some types perhaps where it's a double story, or there's, where it isn't going to work, not without a lot of money being spent?
I think the key is the money. There's no rule about what can and can't be modified. I think something that's in a very poor state of disrepair, something that's on a very difficult block, that's going to be more difficult to modify. But big houses, living accessibly is all about space. So they're not terribly difficult, but slightly more expensive probably to modify. That's a typical ramp, and again, a good illustration of how a bit of a problem there can be solved with what is a very good-looking ramp.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I think also people who have got elderly parents or parents are heading that way should also consider, because often the option is for the parents to move in to their kids' houses, and they also want to know, how can I modify it and how can I do it? So they should also be paying attention to these options. It's not just the people in the situation themselves, it's the whole family.
That's right. There's got to be a lot more planning about this.
Yeah, and talking about it.
Yes, that's right. We're starting the ball rolling here today, which is fantastic. But this is, when I go to exhibitions and things like that, I often have people coming up and talking to me about what should I be doing, what should I be thinking about. And these are people who, are presenting perfectly well at the moment, but they're making, they've come to the conclusion that they probably want to remain living in their homes, and they know there are things that they have to do. So you pointed out earlier, Prue, that the bathroom is a key area, the kitchen is a key area. Clean access through the house, because tripping over and falling is one of the major causes of people requiring these services in the first place. And then the access in and out of the house. But also think about your garden. I mean, is gardening important to you? Do you love your garden? Can you set up your garden in such a way that you can continue to enjoy that? Raised flower beds. Yeah. There's also a technique where you can landscape the front of your garden so that it actually raises up towards the front of the house, so it negates the need for a ramp. Those sorts of things, these are the techniques that people who specialise in this are able to bring to the table when people are prepared to plan.
I just wanted to ask you, because I mean, we've seen some pictures there of homes that have been modified and they look beautiful, they're really stylish. Is there a bit of a misperception that, you know, there's always going to be, you know, ugly ramps or railings
Serviceable
everywhere?
is ugly. People think so, people think clever is ugly.
The resale value of the home, or is that, you know, going away now?
Look, I think we're moving towards a requirement for modifications to be much more sympathetic to the consumer's needs and also to the aesthetic of the house. There is still some, I think, beauty and utility. We saw there the picture of the ramp. That's a perfectly serviceable ramp which will cater for a person who uses a wheelchair and is built according to the National Construction Code and all the relevant standards, etc. So I think people are becoming more attuned to the realisation that they will need over time this sort of thing in the bathroom. So you're not going to get away from a grab rail in a bathroom if you need it, but there are still some nice types of grab rails that you can put in there, and people will get more used to that. I think it is important, though. I think the point you raised about families moving in is the house has got to be serviceable for everybody. Yeah. So you've got to be sympathetic to everybody's needs around that. And that, I think, pushes towards more bespoke types of renovations which are going to make it easier for everybody to live in, and then you can just put the specific adaptations for whoever needs it, whenever they do that. And that's where you need the input of the occupational therapist.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface. So much more we can ask you about. We're running out of time, so we just quickly wanted to get your top tips then for what you need to consider if you're thinking of modifying your home.
Sure. Well, I think, as I said at the beginning, plan to be old. I mean, there's lots of good things to look forward to, but be realistic about the fact that you're going to get older and slower, and there are things that you can do in your home. Plan where you want to live, plan your lifestyle, all that sort of thing. Then when you're doing your renovations, because homeowners, they renovate regularly, make sure you're aware of the accessible features that you can put into those renovations so you're preparing for the future. Look at the specific areas that we've talked about, the bathroom, the kitchen, the access, and also look at the potential for assistive technology, which is available to us all now on our phones. You know, you can get automatic door openers, window openers. Try and build that kind of technology into your phone. It's going to help you later down the track. And always, when you're doing a big job like this, use a qualified, reputable, experienced tradesperson.
Very good point.
There's a range of complexity attached to a lot of this, and our members are specialised and experienced in this. They've had over 30 years experience. They know what they're doing. It's really best to go and get their advice.
Fantastic. I think we'll have to get you back on to have a bit more of a chat about some of the other things that can be done. Thank you so much for that, Michael.
Thank you.
Fantastic to talk to you. Michael Bleasdale, the CEO of Home Modification.